Happy birthday, Abby. And our present to you is we've been thinking all morning of some of our, at least 27, of our favorite memories of you growing up. So, I'll start. Mine, of course, are in chronological order. Are yours, Harry?
Sort of.
Sort of? Okay, so you'll just add yours. Okay, so mine start with Abby at 1. Nell sitting down wanting to be the quintessential big sister and wanting to read to you, and you screaming and ripping the book away from her, wanting to read it yourself. Sort of set the tone for the rest of your life.
Okay, I'll never forget when you first came into the world.
Oh, that should have gone first. All right.
You were in such a hurry, and a young intern or emergency medic had to deliver you. And when your real doctor finally showed up and was complaining about how the young doc didn't do it just right, I was angry and blurted out that the young doc did just fine, so shut up.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, go.
He did. Okay, so Abby at 2. So open with your affection and your love and your hugs and your kisses. Grandma and Grandpa O and my parents, Grandmama and Grandpapa, just loved it whenever they'd see you because you would run up to them, almost knock them over with your affection and your love. It just was wonderful. And really, you taught us all how to be more loving and affectionate. Am I taking too long?
I think so.
Sorry, okay.
Your link to Grandma O goes pretty far back. You were old enough to run like the wind, and we all went to a park in Jefferson City. And Nell was behaving herself, of course, and was with Grandpa. And you were left with Grandma. And first chance you got, you took off running. And Grandma took off running right after you.
And you thought it was fun. You thought it was a game.
It was probably for like a quarter of a mile. And she said afterwards, I couldn't just let her go down to the river.
Classic. Okay, so Abby at 3. I remember. Oh, were you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay, Abby at 3. I remember how much you just loved Janet and Louie. Oh my gosh, you just loved them because Janet would put fingernail polish on you, which I never would have thought to do. And you took naps with Louie. And oh, you just remember Harry, every time we drive by that street in Ipsy, that's where Louie works. So cute.
Yeah. Now, the club pool incident, I think it was just a classic.
Yeah, I almost used that.
We went to the club pool, and you immediately just fell in.
She was 1.
Okay.
She was 1.
And you immediately fell in. This is my memory.
Okay, right.
And you immediately fell in, and there was a lifeguard there, and the lifeguard just nonchalantly just reached in and grabbed you by a leg and pulled you out.
But this is partly...
Pulled you up.
Yeah, but this is partly my memory, too, because I was there. And everybody was freaking out and panicking, and we weren't because we knew you were comfortable in the water. And we looked at you under the water, and you were just smiling. You know, your mouth was closed, and you weren't breathing, but you were just smiling and looking up at us.
My
memory.
It
was so cute.
My memory.
Okay.
That convinced us to be sure that you knew how to swim.
Oh, yeah.
Very early.
Yeah. Very much teetering near the edge sort of defines who you are.
Edgy.
Sometimes.
Edgy.
Okay, my 4-year-old Abby loved Andy. After all the sort of ambivalent feelings about having a little brother, and I think we've told you about those before, you loved him. You thought he was so much fun. And I remember one time walking into the front room of our house on Lester, and you had all your friends over, Veronica, and what was that other little girl's name? Jennifer.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
And, yeah, okay. And you'd taken Andy out of his crib, put him on the floor, and you were all playing this game where you'd run and jump over him.
Yeah.
And you thought it was cool because you'd figured out a game that he could play with you. He was like, 2 months old.
Okay. Why don't you go and check real quick?
Oh, okay.
St. Matthew's will always remember you for being the one who was constantly being carried out by me over my shoulder because you were misbehaving. And we'd go out and run around the parking lot, and that was that. That was the memory for St. Matthew's mainly.
Number Abby at 6, Abby at 5, kindergarten. I can't remember your kindergarten teacher's name, but I remember Dad and I going into a parent-teacher conference one time, and she talked about what a leader you were going to be, because there was a rule in the class where all the children are supposed to walk around this way to do something, and you convinced them all to walk around the other way. And so she said, yes, Abby's going to be quite a leader when she grows up. I already see those tendencies now.
Okay, and do you remember your reading tree in the front yard?
Oh, that was one of mine.
I think I built you a little seat up in the tree, and you would always go up there and read. I don't know if you always did it. I think maybe you did it 5 or 6 times, but you really like trees a lot.
I had that for my 8-year-old memory.
Go.
Okay, so Abby at 6.
Run out of time.
Mrs. Georginas. You loved Mrs. Georginas, your first grade teacher, and you always got your math done so fast that she had to make you her math assistant, and you'd go around and check other people's math because you finished it so fast and you didn't have anything else to do.
Okay, remember frankincense, also known as Frankie. I remember that you insisted we get a dog, so you and Mom went out and paid like $250 for this fancy English Springer Spaniel, and he was just a devil dog. And do you remember when he jumped up on the counter and grabbed the steak? That was it for me.
He
okay,
was.
go.
Okay, when you were 7, we moved to Milan, and your very first best friend, Lacey. That's all.
That's it.
Go.
Then, of course, besides frankincense, we had a whole series of pets that you and Nell mainly collected. I don't think Andy was really into pets that much.
And really, Nell wasn't either. It was mostly Abby.
Yeah. I distinctly remember you finding a dying bird, and you brought it back. I think you found it up at school grounds. You brought it back and asked me to bring it back to health, which, you know, I couldn't possibly do. And so I buried many a pet in our garden.
Yes.
A whole bunch of pets that died under our care.
Abby at 8.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sitting up in the tree. I had that too. But I also think that was my first memory of looking for you and not being able to find you. And you were up in your room reading. You always needed, from a young age, time alone in your room, usually with a book.
I think my favorite memory of all my memories here is the triple play in softball. You may not even remember it, but you were playing softball. Bruce Sobry was the coach, and the ball was hit to you, right to you, and you caught it. You stepped on second base, and the runner who was on second base was out, so that's 2 outs, and then you threw it to first to Bruce Sobry's daughter, and they got another person out who was on first and left the base. And Bruce Sobry and I were just jumping up and down, you know, giving each other high fives and everything. It was a triple play.
I don't remember that at all. I was probably
Unbelievable.
talking.
Okay, go ahead.
Wow. Abby at 9, I used to love to read books out loud to you. We'd read A Wrinkle in Time, I remember, in the C.S. Lewis series. And eventually you had to tell me, Mom, really, could I just read these by myself? Because reading out loud is too slow.
Okay, there was one time when you were on a swim team, I think you were in middle school, and you really wanted a trophy. You just had to have a trophy. You just couldn't stand it. And we went up to Fowlerville because they had a special swim meet where they basically just gave out trophies. And we went up to Fowlerville, and you entered every swim you could, and you didn't quite make it. And then we were leaving, and there was a whole table of trophies out, and you wanted to sit down in the hallway and cry, and you actually thought about, and I think you talked to me about, just taking one of the trophies. And then I think I said, well,